pension and retiree health care funds. And our bond ratings are strong, which allow us and have allowed us to make substantial investments in the built infrastructure of the city. We also finished with other very positive trends. We reduced crime by 35% to its lowest level in 30 years. We increased our city's population. In fact, when it was reported the growth of all states, DC outpaced the growth of all states, and we are back over 700,000. We also achieved another critical milestone in that we broke a record for visitation to DC. More than 26 million visitors came to our city. We also added 7,300 jobs to our economy and grew overall DC wages by 5%. Another indicator that shows that we're making our investments in the right way and people are moving to our city is that the population of our schools, of DC public schools, also increased, and the outcomes for our children demonstrate that the investments that we're making in reading and math are also working. We opened more than 140,000 square feet of retail space, which is very positive, and also reflects our investments in our Comeback Plan and Downtown Action Plan. And 926,000 square feet of office space was added, 1,200 new residential units, and more than 800 hotel rooms. So activity still delivering. We broke ground on the Capital One transformation and gained control of the Robert F. Kennedy Memorial Stadium campus. And we led the nation in ridership on our metro, another very positive indicator of the number of people visiting, working, and residing in the district. You've also heard me talk about kind of where we sit in this federal job cuts discussion. And you've seen people from across America talking about job loss. And it has sometimes been a misconception that, you know, the federal government is just in Washington, D.C. We're proud, of course, to host the federal government, and out of the 2.1 million federal employees, about 191,000 of them have workstations in Washington, D.C. And then the National Capital Region, that is D.C. and the adjacent counties in Maryland and Virginia, there are about 410,000 federal employees total. Of the 191,000, well, of this total, of the 410,000, 71,000 people about are D.C. residents who work in federal agencies. So the announcements, the recent announcements related to some agencies' work being terminated, some probationary employees being terminated, and plans for other employees to be consolidated or terminated have caused the financial estimates for the district to change pretty dramatically. As you know, we have an independent chief financial officer who's responsible for estimating incoming revenue to the city. And based on those estimates, we make our annual budgets. Unlike many places, we are required to balance our budgets for several years out. So the chief financial officer estimates throughout the year, I think 4 times a year, how much revenue we will have coming in to the district. Our last revenue estimate was at the end of 2024 in December, and the most recent one came out last week. And what those estimates indicate is because of the federal job losses, so loss of income, loss in sales tax, and loss in all of the things associated with it, we can expect in the district to have $325 million less than what we thought we would have in December. Same is true in 27, except it gets a little worse, and in 28, it gets a little worse. So over the next 4 years that our budget will be based on, we have 300 or more fewer $1 million to work with than we expected. This is an important note, obviously, because it represents a tremendous amount of money, but it also comes when we're winding up our budget preparation. So throughout our preparation period, we've been basing it on the blue lines, if you will. And now we have to adjust our budget, reshape our budget to base it on what you see in the green lines. So now more than ever, and what I've tasked my team with is being strategic about how we invest our dollars. We're very focused on how we bring more good-paying jobs and companies and economic activity to DC. So you will hear me saying a lot, we have to make investments that are focused on growth. How do we bring more jobs, more companies, and more economic activity to the district? We're also focused on ways we can change the trajectory of those forecasts. You've heard me say this before when the CFO was pessimistic about commercial activity and the value of commercial property. We got to work to try to change the trajectory. And the way that we did that was, again, investing in downtown activity so we can attract more employers, more workers, more entertainment, more activity. And as you can see from the 2024 numbers, we started to see those things change. What could change between the CFO's estimates in reality is that some of these job losses are paused or reversed. The administration could extend the buyout period. Courts could pause job losses or pause them to ensure legality. And the administration could pause building consolidations. So all of these things, or one of these things, could change the trajectory of the CFO's estimate. Estimate, keep in mind, that's 4 years in one case from now. So we will continue to work on all of the things that I mentioned, but I also want to recognize that a lot of our fellow Washingtonians are in shock, angry. They are anxious about their futures and how they're going to take care of their families. And we know that they have worked very hard in service to the nation. And I'm so very sorry that they're having this experience. And I want them to know that DC government is going to do all that we can to help in their transition. So with that, I want to turn to my team. I'll turn to the city administrator and other members of my team to talk about other plans.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Kevin Donahue, City Administrator, and I will start to talk about some of the services that are offered with DC government that can help those who are affected or impacted by the federal job losses. So that's if you're a federal employee you're worried about your job, you were laid off, you were a contractor, or you were in some way affected by the downsizing of the number of jobs that we have. The first area is really healthcare, and for those who are or are about to lose their health insurance. We have a service called the DC Health Link that you can go to dchealthlink.com to find. There are 27 private health insurance plans offered. They're available for anyone who is within 60 days of about to lose their job, they've lost their job in 60 days, and if you're more than 60 days since you lost your job, there are annual open enrollment periods. You'll find a number of health insurance plans. There's an outstanding comparison tool to be able to compare what's right for your family. And finally, there are subsidies offered for those who are struggling to make ends meet to be able to afford the premiums. And you can get premiums for as low as $13. So that's an outstanding starting point to learn about health insurance options if your health insurance has been lost or you believe it will be based on an impending job change. The next area is around foreclosure prevention. We know that the break in income can put homeowners who have been paying their mortgage for years at risk of defaulting. There's a service that we offer through the Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking that can help prevent foreclosure from happening. You can reach out to the phone number 202-442-7765 or the email address or the visit housingetc.org. What you'll find if you need this is that there are weekly foreclosure prevention clinics that are offered to everyone who needs it. You can also get a one-on-one appointment with a foreclosure prevention specialist who can help outline a strategy to getting through the period where you're worried about losing your home. That can include having help reaching out to and engaging with lenders. It can include legal help. It can also include financial planning to be able to help you access programs and services available to you that you may not be aware of right now that can help you get through this difficult period when you're worried about paying your mortgage. So if you're worried about that, please visit that website or call the phone number to set up an attendance and register at a clinic, and then identify and sign up for a one-on-one counseling session where you can learn about what options are available to you. I'll now turn to the Deputy Mayor for Education to really walk through what your options are around schools and education.
Thanks, Kevin. My name is Paul Kine. I'm the Deputy Mayor for Education. And for those workers who may be concerned newly about their family's school placements, I want to remind everyone that we've got a fabulous public school system in Washington, D.C., and there are two ways that you can approach enrolling your child in that school system. Firstly, you have a right to attend your DCPS neighborhood school. And if you want to enroll in your neighborhood school where you have a right to go, contact DCPS at enrolldcps.dc.gov. Secondly, if you're interested in other options beyond that, My School DC is the place to go to complete and submit an application for alternative school options. In addition, if you have a younger child at home and you're interested in child care, mychildcare.dc.gov can provide all kinds of information about the providers around where you live and how to gain access to our strong system of infant and toddler care in the district. If you have interest in summer programming, free summer programming for your family members and your children, we have a lot going on across the city at our Department of Parks and Recreation, DC Public Schools, our Summer Youth Employment Program and community organizations, and a great resource for you will be our annual Summer in the City event, which is occurring on Saturday, March 29th. And you can get information on that at Summer in the City 2025 at eventbrite.com. And we encourage you to attend to find those options. For older students, if you have college-age students who are going to get their first bachelor's degree, the DC TAG Tuition Assistance Program is open as an application until August at dc1app.dc.gov. This is for first-time college goers for your college-going students, and you can get up to $10,000 of tuition assistance. So we encourage you to pursue that. And lastly, if you yourself have attended college and are now considering that you might be struggling with your loan payments, we do have an ombudsman that can help with forbearance and deferment advice, and that's at dcloanhelp@dc.gov. And with that, I will turn it to our Director of Employment Services, Unique Morris Hughes.
Well, thank you, Deputy Mayor Kine, and thank you, Mayor Bowser, for an opportunity to provide an update specifically on how to apply for unemployment insurance benefits. I'm going to go through a lot of information in a truncated period of time, but everything that we're discussing here today is available at the website fedsupport.dc.gov. So for those impacted federal workers that need to apply for unemployment insurance benefits, we've provided and outlined some key important facts to make the application process more seamless. First, you should understand that we anticipate this takes about 45 minutes to an hour, so you should get all of your documentation ready to submit in our brand new online portal. You will need to verify your identity first by going to ID Me and creating an account. Then after you do that, you should go to does.dcnetworks.org to file your claim by clicking Claim Unemployment Benefits. Then after you submit your initial application, within 7 business days, you should receive a notice of monetary determination in the mail and in your online profile. That's right, it will come 2 ways, in the mail and in your online profile. During this time, you should also keep an eye out on any sort of communications from the DC Department of Employment Services in which we may ask you for additional information. We will contact you through your portal, through email, and at times by phone. Then after you file your initial claim, you should begin on the Sunday after you apply for benefits to certify that you are eligible to receive UI benefits every week. And you do that at the dos.dcnetworks.org website. Then, within 21 days of filing your initial claim, you will hear back from a DOES claims examiner on whether or not your claim has been approved. Now, in the event you have questions or you need additional information, we have a plethora of information on our website, but you can also call us at 202-724-7000, or you can visit us at any of 3 American Job Centers located at 4058 Minnesota Avenue Northeast, our new job center at 899 North Capitol Northeast, and also another new site, 2201 Shannon Place Southeast. And just a few reminders: you must file for unemployment insurance benefits in the city or location in which you work. So if you work in the District of Columbia, you should file your application in the District of Columbia. Also, federal law requires you to continue to look for work once you file a claim. And then please, beginning the Sunday after you file for benefits, you must certify that you're eligible for UI benefits weekly. Again, you should visit fedsupport.dc.gov to get any of the information we've shared here today and on unemployment insurance information. Next, I'd like to pass it along to my colleague, Director Charles Hall, Director of the DCHR.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Charles Hall. I'm the Director of the Department of Human Resources for DC government. And as the Mayor stated, we want to ensure that we provide support, especially as it relates to persons who have been terminated from federal government employment. And we want to assist in their identifying employment for this moment. As a result, what we've done is we've created a new public service career hub, which is located on the DC Fed Support page. We wanted to ensure that there was easy access and that we would have all of the information on one site so that persons will be able to identify employment opportunities. On the Public Service Career Hub, you will find both private and public sector opportunities. So our DC government agencies have identified positions within each agency that you'll be able to apply for. Additionally, private sector employers will have information regarding positions at their various agencies or organizations and companies as well. On the hub, there are a couple of things that you'll be able to do. We want to make sure that we can expedite the process as it relates to you identifying employment. So on the hub, you'll be able to review all of the positions and the employers that are available. You'll also be able to create a profile right on that page, and you'll also be able to upload a resume. As a result, when you do this, the employers will be able to see your profile and your resume so that they can start identifying whether or not they'd like to reach out to you to schedule interviews. Additionally, what we'll be doing is once you register or once you apply on that page, you'll also be able to register for an upcoming hiring event that we're going to have on March the 14th. It will be held at the Kellogg Conference Center at Gallaudet University from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There will be 2 time slots available for you to sign up for, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, and then from 12:30 to 2 p.m. or to 2:30 should we need that time. At the hiring event, what we do want you to know is the same employers that are available on the Public Service Career Hub, they will be the ones who are tabling and interviewing at the hiring event. In addition to interviewing, there may be opportunities for them to extend contingent offers at the actual hiring event, and we're going to ask employers, if they don't extend them at the hiring event, to follow up with persons at least 14 days afterwards if they'd like to extend offers to those persons. In addition to tabling, interviewing, and potential offers, the hiring event will also provide resources such as unemployment insurance assistance. We'll have a writing and interviewing skills, a resume writing and interviewing skills session. We also will make available professional headshots and assistance with creating a LinkedIn profile and resources for legal, financial, and mental health supports as well. The site is up and live, and so we invite you to visit the site. Additionally, keep in mind that this is a live site, and so we'll be adding consistently to the site various employers and positions that will be available for you to apply for. I'll now turn it over to Deputy Mayor Nina Albert.
Well, thank you so much. So as Director Hall said, the fedsupport.dc.gov will have both DC government job opportunities as well as private sector job opportunities. And so to accelerate the aggregation and transparency of what immediate job availability is in the private sector, DC is going to be conducting a survey, and this is going to be sent out to all DC-based companies where we are going to gather insights as well as critical information on what immediate job openings there are. And so with that, we will be sending out that survey today and aggregating that information quickly, and it will be posted again on this centralized website location, fedsupport.dc.gov.
Well, I want to thank you all for that information. Again, you know the website, fedsupport.dc.gov. That's also where you will find DCHR's Public Service Career Hub and all of the information about education and unemployment insurance. And I also want to add my voice to Nina's in asking our employers to please respond to the survey so that we can help streamline matches with our residents who are looking for work. So with that, I think, Steve, I'm going to turn it over to you to help manage the phone calls.
Good. Thank you very much, Mayor. Again, Steve Walker, Deputy Chief of Staff to the Mayor. If you've got a question, please dial 844-881-1314 and press 0, and then you'll be loaded into the queue. Our first question is going to come from Andre. Andre, we can hear you. Andre, can you hear us? I think we just lost the phone line here. It's going to take a second. We have to redial here.
Please press 1 to join the conference. You are joining event 121039 of District of Columbia, March 5th, 2025, EOM as a speaker.
Hello, Andre, can you hear us?
Yes.
Great. You can ask your question.
I can ask now?
Yes, go ahead, Andre.
Go ahead, Andre.
How you doing, Madam Mayor?
I'm okay.
Ask your question, Andre.
Yes. If I'm a federal worker and start working in D.C., will all or any of my federal benefits transfer?
Charles, it's a federal, we get this question, yes, so, you know, I think you know this answer, right? Okay, yeah, go ahead. The question was, do federal benefits translate or transfer to if you become employed by DC government?
So they will not transfer. However, DC government has a very good benefit package that you'll be able to participate in. And so everything from life insurance to your health insurance and your retirement, you'll be able to elect those options in DC government.
Thank you very much for that question. Next question is from Mark in Ward 8. Mark, we can hear you. Please ask your question.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I am a former federal contractor, and of course, I just lost my job in there. I'm a D.C. resident, went to school in D.C., elementary school, all the way to UDC. One question I have concerning the job situation now is, are there any upcoming major infrastructure projects to create jobs that are in line with what you guys have going on now?
Sure. So thanks for that question. And we continue to be investing in DC. Part of our budget discussion is how we will continue to invest in infrastructure around the city. Kevin, you want to talk about some of the work that we're considering?
Yeah, we still, while our revenue forecast is down, the fact is that we still will have a robust infrastructure budget. There's two kinds of infrastructure that you could get involved in. One is what I call horizontal infrastructure, and that work is done through our DC Department of Transportation, and they have a number of local CBEs, certified business enterprises, that do that work. That's roads, bridges, all the inspection and design work around that. The second kind of infrastructure that we're investing is what I call building up or vertical. So building buildings, rec centers, schools, affordable housing. That is typically done via our Department of General Services that works with our contracting community to do infrastructure work where we're building new buildings. So both of those agencies we are still hiring in DC government, and the skill sets or experience that you have in those fields are still applicable either in the agencies or in some of the certified business enterprises that are local to DC that work with those agencies in doing the work.
And Nina, if you would mention just kind of the economic development investments.
Well, we continue to develop, and we will reach out to our entire the DC government's contractor community and our private partners to, again, make those jobs available. But as we know, there continue to be development projects that deliver, that specifically hire local DC residents through our First Source program and others, and other programs to make sure that jobs are connected to real-time projects that are ongoing now, Mayor.
And this may also be an opportunity while you're in between employment to touch up on your skills and consider joining us at the DC Infrastructure Academy, which is paid training. We pay minimum wage. We're currently enrolling for classes right now, and we offer a plethora of training opportunities for careers in infrastructure. DOES.dc.gov has our DC Infrastructure Academy enrollment information.
Okay, next question.
Thank you. Our next question is from Malik, a Ward 2 resident. Go ahead, Malik, we can hear you.
Hi, good morning. This is a question in regards to the unemployment, filing unemployment claim. Are you encouraging applicants to apply their initial claim on the day they were notified of their termination or the effective last day of employment at the federal agency?
Well, thank you. That is a wonderful question. You should apply the effective last day, not the day of notice. We can't technically pay out benefits until you stop receiving payment. So it should be the effective last day. We will have information on the fedsupport.dc.gov that outlines different criteria for when to apply, but the last effective day.
Thank you for that question. Again, if you're online, 844-881-1314 and press 0, and we'll take your question. Our next question comes from Marcus. Marcus, go ahead. We can hear you.
Hey, good morning, and thank you for taking my question. I'm a former United States Capitol Police officer and resident of Ward 8. How will federal job losses affect small businesses, and are there any programs to start a small business in the wake of all the federal losses?
Well, thanks for that question, Marcus. And the unfortunate reality is that small businesses will be impacted. And when people don't have money to spend, small businesses are impacted. So at this point, our focus is on helping to reconnect people with employment. And this is the thing that we know. We know what the estimates of job loss are. It's a little bit harder to estimate time and quantity of reemployment. So we know that many people will be reemployed. They won't necessarily be in the same fields or at the same pay, but we know that the jobs and good paying jobs exist in this region. And so that's why we're very focused on making sure that we can connect people to employment as soon as possible. Now, we have and we will continue to be very interested in our small business programs that have been effective, including our Access Fund. We've been very focused on attracting events and activities to the downtown and other commercial areas. So they continue to get a lot of attention in our budgeting process, and we'll stay focused on that.
Thank you very much. Our next question, Ward 5 resident Aretha Willoughby. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Good morning. A previous caller had asked, will the federal benefits, is it transferred over to D.C. government if you were employed? And I didn't quite hear the response. The response wasn't clear.
Sure. Thank you for that question again. So federal benefits will not transfer to the district government. However, we have a very robust benefit package here, which includes health insurance, life insurance, long and short-term disability. So you'll have options that you'll be able to select from, but you will not be able to transfer your federal government benefits to D.C. government.
Thank you very much. Good question again, 844-881-1314 and press 0. Our next question is from Ms. Wright in Ward 7. Go ahead, we can hear you.
Sure. Good morning. This is Artily Wright. I'm an ANC for 7D03 in Parkside, and I have a multi-part question. First, what mental health benefits are available to support those experiencing unemployment during this time? And the second, D.C. has long been reliant on the federal sector as a driver of our economy. What other industries or sectors is D.C. targeting for job growth, and are there any opportunities for upskilling or reskilling to, get the jobs in these target growth areas?
Well, thank you for that question, both questions. Mental health benefits, we are sharing at fedsupport.dc.gov, and we'll make available also at the March 14th event. So if you please check that, that is a collection of services for well-being services. And you ask an excellent question about what are our high demand industries and how are we working to attract them and match our residents to them. So let me turn to the Deputy Mayor to respond.
So yeah, the DC and the DC region currently have significant vacancies, particularly in the technology community. And so we definitely want to make sure that people have access to existing job vacancies that are in tech. And tech is hiring all different kinds of positions, project management positions, administrative positions, as well as sort of more deep technological and engineering skill sets. So I would really encourage those of you who have, kind of a diverse skill set, but are used to managing projects as well as teams, to look into the tech industry because there are vacancies right now. I would say the same thing is true of our healthcare industry. There are significant vacancies that our healthcare employers are also looking for high-skilled work. Again, in a lot of functions that maybe people don't really think about, whether it's corporate finance, whether it's administrative, contracting, and others, project management and others. Our high-growth industries in the District of Columbia, but generally speaking for this region as well, are in technology, that continues to grow, in healthcare, as well as in marketing, communications, and entertainment. And so those are growing today, have vacancies today, and that are part of our diversification strategy in the future.
And I just want to add to one part of your question about the prevalence of federal work in the district, or that the district has relied on federal work. And I would answer it in kind of differently. What we have done, and what is important to note, is that we have built an infrastructure in this region that supports a productive American workforce. And it is people who are, well skilled at the jobs that the federal government requires. The proximity to policymakers has been important, as well as the transportation infrastructure that has supported them. So we as a region have really built the necessary infrastructure that's not easily recreated to support the federal government.
Thank you very much. Our next question comes from Rich. Rich, go ahead. We can hear you.
Thank you. I want to thank you and Mayor and all the participants in this meeting. It's helpful because it is a trying time. My question had to do with unemployment insurance. I applied and, of course, been filing my weekly certifications, and it always says the claim is under review. Is there a standard 21-day requirement on the under review, or is there something else I need to reach back personally to the office? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. So we do have a standard 21-day review. However, we aim to complete that review much faster than 21 days. Let me explain to you why it may be taking a little bit longer. As a requirement of the Federal Unemployment Insurance Program, we must verify wages. And in order for us to do that, we have to go back to your employer, the federal agency, and ask them to verify your employment and the amount of money that you made or wages you made during your employment. And so what we have seen is that this is taking a little bit more time than it would typically take in the unemployment insurance process. So that's likely what is happening right now while your claim is under review. I'd like to recommend that you give us a call at the call center or visit us in person. To see, well, thank you. The number is 202-724-7000, or you can visit us in person at any of the call centers to see if we can pinpoint exactly where your claim is at in the review process and how we can help expedite that review.
Thank you very much. Again, 844-881-1314 and press 0. We also have some people watching online, and I'm going to call out an online question, and it's to repeat the mortgage assistance answer. And so, Deputy Mayor, if you can repeat mortgage assistance available for federal employees.
Sure. So there's a mortgage prevention program that's run out of our D.C. Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking. However, everything I say you can also find at the Fed Support website that we've been highlighting throughout this call. So there's a number of different ways that we can provide you with foreclosure support and prevention. One is for you to attend a weekly clinic where information that's very valuable is passed out and shared and questions are answered that lets people become aware of what prevention tools that are available and accessible to them. Second, you should sign up for a one-on-one counseling session. This will let a counselor whose expertise is foreclosure prevention to understand your particular circumstance and create a plan that allows you to prevent foreclosure. That plan may include a strategy for engaging with your lender. It may be this counselor themselves engaging with a lender. It may be providing some legal assistance and support as well. So attending the clinic, signing up for a counseling session are the first steps to having a really robust strategy to be able to access programs and position yourself to preventing foreclosures. Last year, this service alone prevented nearly 300 households from having their homes foreclosed upon. So we know it works, and I encourage you to be able to sign up starting with one of those weekly clinics.
Thank you very much. Our next question comes from Cameron in Ward 6. Cameron, go ahead. We can hear you.
Hi, thank you so much for having this. My question is about rental assistance for federal employees that have been terminated. Going online, I see that the Emergency Rental Assistance Program is no longer taking applications, I'm assuming due to the funding cycle. So my question is additional rental assistance that the district might be able to provide. Thank you.
And thank you for that question, Cameron. And unfortunately, I do believe we are expended for the year for rental assistance. But like the city administrator explained, for engaging with your landlords, that is our recommendation to continue to pay your bills and engage with your landlord.
Thank you very much for that question. Our next question comes from Carol in Ward 3. Carol, we can hear you.
Thank you so much to the mayor and others for doing this call. I'd like to ask about how D.C. plans to protect Medicaid services for people with disabilities and others if federal Medicaid matching is reduced.
Well, Carol, it is our top priority is to make sure that we are engaging both with the members of Congress and the administration on the importance of Medicaid. It sounds like you are well aware that if any of our arrangements change, it could mean deep, deep cuts to the services that we are able to provide via Medicaid. And so we continue to work with the members of Congress to make sure that doesn't happen. Now, we've heard that they've said they don't want to touch Medicaid, and we want to hold them to that. And what that means is no cuts to Medicaid, no changes to the matches that we and other states have been provided for many years. And let me be clear about what Medicaid covers in a city like ours. Certainly it provides health insurance to many people who without Medicaid would not have access to preventative care or cancer care or diabetes management or children going to the doctor, all of those things. But it also supports services in our behavioral health programs at OSSI. Where else am I missing? For our seniors who are living in Medicaid supported units. So it is throughout our city. And the people who are getting Medicaid and other people who may be adjacent to them, living in those buildings or going to school with kids or in neighborhoods where there are a lot of services, would also suffer.
Thank you very much. I think we have time for about 2 or 3 more questions. Our next question comes from Karen. Go ahead, Karen. We can hear you. Karen? Okay.
Yes, my name is Karen Harrison, and I'm in Ward 7. I wanted to know if the hiring event that's occurring at Gallaudet on March the 14th is only for federal employees, or is it for all of D.C. residents who need employment?
Thank you for that question. So it is strictly for federal government employees who have been impacted. We continue to have our quarterly hiring events in D.C., and we'll also make sure that there are other opportunities as well. We encourage you also to continue to check careers.dc.gov for employment opportunities, together.dc.gov for employment opportunities, and DOES has opportunities as well.
Thank you very much, Director Hall. Next question, Olivia in Ward 6.
Good morning, Mayor Bowser, and
good morning.
All of the other DS. Thank you so much for your exemplary service. My question is, do you anticipate with the dissolution of federal agencies an impact on our young people's summer youth employment program opportunities?
So I have to tell you, we're working harder than ever to make sure we get as many young people into SYEP this summer. SYEP will not stop. We will not pause due to what's happening with the federal government. But we are also recruiting employers who want to sign up and participate in the program. Now, March 6th is the deadline to have young people and their family apply for SYEP, but our employer application will remain open through May. And so if you know of any young people in your home or in your community, encourage them to sign up. Summerjobs.dc.gov. There'll also be information on fedsupport.dc.gov as well. And for employers, please visit us, support us. This is the best time now more than ever. Summerjobs.dc.gov is where you can sign up to host a young person in SYEP.
Thank you very much. Our final question comes from Maria. Maria, please go ahead.
Hi there. Thank you so much. I have a question about unemployment insurance. I left left my job in a different state to come here in October to start working for the federal government and was fired. And I called to try to file for unemployment, and I was told that I have to have worked in D.C. for 6 months to claim uninsurance in D.C. And I want to know if that's correct. And options are, because I tried to file in my previous state, and they said I can't apply there because I voluntarily left that job.
So it sounds like to me you have what we call a combined wage claim, where you have wages in 2 different jurisdictions. On our fedsupport.dc.gov, there'll be some language and guidance on eligibility and how to file a combined wage claim. So I want to encourage you to visit fedsupport.dc.gov, but it sounds like just on the surface and not hearing the other details regarding your circumstances, you may have to apply in more than one jurisdiction.
Thank you very much for everyone who's dialed in. We're going to post these questions and more on fedsupport.dc.gov. So if you have questions you're watching, please go to fedsupport.dc.gov and we'll post the answers to these questions. And you can also continue to ask questions as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Steve, and thank you for everybody who's watching and everyone who called in. And my own team, we're all working double time to make sure that we navigate this storm. So with that, we'll take a few press questions. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. Felicia Ashley with ABC7. We heard one of the callers ask about rental assistance and is mentioned that this has been used or there's no additional assistance there. For the resources that are available for those in need, are they, I see there may be an influx of people right now. Are they prepared to handle the substantial amount of people that may be reaching out for support? And also, are there services right now that may not be able to handle the weight of everyone?
So I think the predominant questions that we heard today are related to unemployment insurance. And so if Unique could talk about the new system that we have in place since the last time we had a big pressure on our unemployment system and how we're planning to be ready.
Yep, so we have launched a brand new system, like the mayor has said, and it is far simpler and easier to use to file your claim. The first thing that we have improved is how you verify your identity. You don't have to come in person anymore to verify your identity or send a copy of your identity documentation through secure email. Now you can upload that information, but the first step is to go to fedsupport.dc.gov, click on the unemployment insurance tab or box, and then go to ID Me to verify your identity. But what the system allows us to do is to A, give you an update in real time of where you're at in your claim filing process. Think like when you're ordering a pizza online, it says, you know, here's where you're at and, you know, the next step in the process. The other thing is that we have videos, we have information in different languages that outline very clearly every single step that you need to go to. So that will decrease the amount of time that you need to submit to file your application. In the pandemic, it could take up to well over an hour and a half, 2 hours to file your claim with all of the tedious questions and pieces of information you need. Now we're down to 45 minutes to an hour, assuming you have all the information in front of you. So we've worked really hard to make this a seamless process.
Okay, who's next? Yep.
Stephanie Ramirez, Fox 5. I do have a few on topic and off topic as well. On topic, just to follow up to one of the caller's questions about the requirement to live in the district within a 6-month period before you can file for unemployment. Worker unemployment.
Work, not live. So
excuse me, work. Yes, thank you. Is there any plans to possibly waive that? And then also wanted to ask about, with regard to the number of people who live or work in the city, specifically on those who live in the city and work for the federal government, is there any anticipation that a large number of residents might move given anything that's going on? And is there any information on how much, maybe a percentage of how much the jobs from local DC actually match to the federal jobs being lost at this time?
So to your first question, it is a federal requirement that you file your unemployment insurance application where your duty station or physically located at for work. So you must file where you work. And in this case, it sounds like this individual worked in 2 different states, and they must file in those 2 states in which they've worked. I do not have the ability nor discretion to waive that. I want to remind folks this is a federal program that we're implementing. Each state implements based on federal guidance. To your second question, and I might need to unpack that a little bit, I think you were asking about what supports we have in place or any insights related to the number of DC residents in federal jobs and if people are going to move. Is that your question?
Are you anticipating, the first question was how many, well, I'll break it down. How many are you anticipating might leave because of what's going on with the federal job losses? We already see the numbers projected in economic loss, but how many people do you estimate might leave?
We don't have any estimates like that.
And then with regard to the matchup of jobs, right? Is there a percentage idea of how many of the federal jobs lost actually match up with the local DC jobs that are available to people right now?
Oh, there's no comparison. Like we have openings, but we won't have openings that match the type of numbers that they're talking about. Yes.
Two questions. Marielle with DC News Now. First, for Director Morris-Hughes, I know last time we talked to you, you were still looking for some clarification about who actually would qualify for the unemployment. I know I've seen people in other states saying they've been denied because they were let go because of performance, which they say is not accurate underneath these cuts, but also there was questions about whether people took the deferred resignation if they would qualify. Do you have any more clarity on either of those situations?
Yeah, so I think it's important first to talk about the different classes of separations. One is this deferred resignation, which I think it's reasonable to assume that you agree to resign and that you were provided some sort of severance for some specified period of time. That level of detail I don't have. It's based on per agency, so we just don't have that sort of insight and detail available. That's one class. Then there are another class of separations for people who were separated from their federal job due to probationary period, and there is language in some of these letters that cite to performance. As it relates to that, I have not received any additional guidance from the Department of Labor if we should be treating these claims differently than how we normally treat claims. My recommendation is for anyone who is filing an unemployment insurance claim to upload as many responsive documents as possible related to their specific circumstance, and then a claims examiner is going to review each claim and its responsive documents to make a determination.
And then, I'm not sure if this is for the mayor who wants to take this, but I know yesterday we saw a list about potential federal properties that are not needed and that the government would sell those. How does that impact this city? Is that a property tax issue, or is there any impact on if these federal buildings are sold?
Well, I haven't had a chance to look through the whole list. I understand that the whole DMV was removed from the list sometime between last night and today. So I don't know what to make of that, other than to say the federal government has been, we know this, they've talked about consolidating buildings. That list I saw was outrageous. And I just don't know how you can function as a centralized federal bureaucracy without the Department of Justice and FBI working. I just don't know how you do that, and we wouldn't recommend that. The biggest thing is, and this will be my ask to the president, is like you cannot dump buildings on the market without preparation or a plan. Because it would be antithetical to making this the most beautiful capital city in the world. Cannot do it. Cannot dump them. Definitely can't dump them all at once, and we need a plan. So that's what I would say about that. I don't know if there's anything else to add, Nina.
No, I mean, look, this is an opportunity over the long run to privatize and generate tax revenue from these buildings. That's the positive. But how we implement it and how we work together is incredibly important. We've got great examples in this city of the yards, which is a major federal asset that's been converted over time, last 20 years, very highly income producing for the city. So that kind of partnership, very important and renders great benefits to the city and to the federal government. But as the mayor said, planning this and collaborating together on how we do it so that the private market can absorb it is very important.
Yeah.
Hi, Mayor Brown.
Hi.
Gabe Cohen from CNN. I have two questions for you. The first, does your office plan to request any sort of additional financial assistance or resources from the federal government or the Trump administration, given it's their terminations that are causing this economic stress?
Perhaps.
Okay. Do you care to elaborate on that, Al?
No.
My second question is about your comments on Black Lives Matter Plaza yesterday. Is that part of a broader strategy not to pick small fights, to compromise where you can, and to avoid antagonizing the president and his allies and putting a target on DC's back, given Trump's comments in the past about potentially taking over parts of the city?
Like I said in my statement, and like I've said for the last 45 minutes, we have bigger fish to fry than fights over what has been very important to us and to their history, and especially in our ability to keep our city safe during that time. That mural played a very important part. But now our focus is on making sure our residents and our economy survives.
Hi, Mayor. On that topic, I know you had a pretty open exchange with the White House. The city and the White House have been talking about a lot of these things for months. How long had the issue of Black Lives Matter been under discussion, and why now, with the timing of the announcement? Did it have anything to do, because you said in the announcement that you're going to focus on these other bigger issues. Was the timing of the announcement connected to any of these developments?
Well, the timing was the Washington Post asked us a question, so we responded. That was why the timing. My intention was to announce this with our next America 250 Commission meeting, which will be later this month. So while the announcement came a little bit sooner than I had planned, the decision had been made.
But how long had y'all been in discussion with the White House over this particular issue for some time?
Well, I'm not going to talk about specifics about my conversations, but I think it's safe to say that people don't like it, didn't like it. It's safe to say. You can imagine that. Yes.
Megan Floyd with the Washington Post. Thanks, Mayor. If I could follow up on that for just a moment. The congressman in his bill requested that DC rename it Liberty Plaza. Do you intend to do that?
As I said, Megan, we expect to have a discussion, a citywide discussion about how we will honor the nation's semi-quincentennial. And we expect it to be a part of that discussion. But we don't support the congressman's bill. Yes.
We also reported this morning that the White House has backed off the executive order that would have cracked down on crime and homeless encampments in D.C. And have heard about some, quote, constructive conversations that you have had with the White House. If not to discuss your conversations, can you at least give us a sense of any specific policies or what you've referred to in the past as shared priorities that are moving forward between your administration and Trump's?
They're the same. So the shared priorities around our safety and beautification efforts, the federal workforce, now that focus has changed a bit. Our focus had been how do we get people back to work, not slash jobs. And so I think the conversation moving forward is how can we have a more orderly process, slow this process down, and consider, and just to be sure, we've seen some backtracking on decisions, some mistakes made, which, you know, people say they expect, but let's slow this process down so that we know exactly what we're doing with our workers. That would be my request around the federal workforce. And then the last thing we've already talked about, which we need to advance those conversations around just the portfolio of buildings. Did you want to say something else?
Are there any specific compromises that you have made with the administration on any policies surrounding crime, monuments, federal park space?
No, none that I believe. Yes, Mark.
Just a couple going back to the Fed thing, and then a couple of quick off topics. One, for the city administrator, you had mentioned the healthcare 60-day window on either side of leaving. Is that also if you leave voluntarily from your job, you have that 60-day window, or if it's only if you're separated?
Yes, any departure from your job 60 days before or 60 days after. Then for an individual who's more than 60 days post-employment, there are open enrollment periods throughout the year.
Okay, I appreciate that. And then for unemployment insurance, can you just clarify, if somebody took the deferred separation agreement voluntarily, do they qualify for unemployment insurance once that payment runs out?
So it depends on the circumstances, and the reason why I can't answer any specifics here is because I haven't actually seen a copy of the letter and the agreement in place between the federal agency and the departing employment. So it is reasonable to assume that after you leave employment, due to no fault of your own, that you could apply and receive unemployment insurance benefits if you are not receiving pay. If you leave on your own, there is a period of time that you must wait before you become eligible. Again, I need to see some more specifics, and I haven't actually physically seen a letter with any agreement between a former federal employee and an agency yet. So it's hard to answer blindly here.
And then Mayor Bowser,
Yep.
back to Black Lives Matter Plaza and your negotiations. Can you address residents who might be frustrated that they're not seeing, in their opinions, enough pushback from you toward? We saw some last night at the joint session from at least a couple of members of Congress who walked out or were escorted out. And I'm just wondering if you've talked candidly about this balance that you have to strike. And I'm just wondering what you say to people who might be frustrated or disappointed that they're not seeing, and who would like to see a little bit more pushback and look at this move on Black Lives Matter Plaza as capitulating to somebody who does not necessarily have the district's residents' best interests at heart.
Mark, I think residents trust my judgment, and they know that I have led the city through some difficult times, some good times, and some difficult times. They know that I've worked with this president. They know that we have had issues, and they know that I'm going to fight for what's important for the city. And this is the threat to our city right now. The threat to our city is we came into this year with a pretty robust economy. We were concerned about vacancy in our downtown, but our trends were headed in the right direction because of our interventions. Now we go into a budget season where our revenue is estimated to be down $5 billion, and we still have the threat of Medicaid cuts looming. That's what DC residents want me to be focused on, and they trust me to do it. They know that I have the full view of the field in front of us, and I'll have information that they won't have, or I'll have discussions that they're not privy to, and they trust that I'll do the right thing for them. So while I recognize that there is frustration and people want someone to blame or they want somebody to be mad at, I don't think that's where we are in DC. I think we're in the place where we're locking arms. They want us to be smart and strategic and get to the other side, and that's my job. I'm going to navigate us to the other side.
I appreciate it. If I could, just one last question. The Washington Informer newspaper is celebrating 60 years of serving our hometown. Your thoughts, particularly at this time and place with what we're seeing with the Washington Post and other news, can you just talk about the importance of this newspaper in our community?
Absolutely. Well, we have some venerated institutions in the city that have been committed to telling the stories of the real Washington. And I think we all could learn something from the perspective of the Washington Informer and how they approach telling stories about Washingtonians in Washington. So yes, we're the nation's capital. We're the seat of the federal government. We've built an amazing infrastructure to support the American workforce, but 700,000 of us live here. Some of us were born here. Others move here, and people want to stay here. And so we appreciate them and congratulate them. Family business for 60 great years. All right, I'm sorry.
I just want to add one addendum to my response to Mark's question about health insurance, an important one. So if someone is fired or leaves voluntarily, they qualify for special enrollment for up to 60 days after their employer insurance ends. And if someone buys COBRA insurance, so the insurance available to individuals after they leave a job, they can take the COBRA insurance until the next open enrollment period, then go into health insurance exchange to be able to buy insurance off the exchange, to have continuity of coverage between their COBRA insurance and then to sign up for insurance through the private exchange that we have.
Okay, I'll take a few more. 1, 2, 3. Yep.
Hey, I'm Danny from Politico. I have two questions, one about the federal workforce and one about the Post reporting earlier this morning. I mean, you guys aren't alone in escalating efforts here to cushion the fall for federal workers. You know, Governor Moore did the same on Friday, and Youngkin's done the same too. But I guess I'm wondering what, you know, do you guys see now that you guys didn't see 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago when probationary workers were purged during Valentine's Day?
I think we're looking at some actual numbers and the impact on DC, and I think they've also announced a call for more cuts. So we see with that we have some real numbers to react to.
And I mean, Trump's also backing off of the executive order that would have heightened crime penalties. I'm kind of wondering if you had any conversations with the Trump administration about that, and what, if you have any insight on what animated that decision.
I didn't understand the first part of your question.
Oh, I guess I'm curious if you had like any conversations with the Trump administration.
Yes, I've had many conversations.
And I mean, like, do you have any insight on what animated that decision?
It wasn't a good idea.
Any elaboration on that? Why it wasn't a good idea?
Well, it's hard for me to say what, because we were never really presented with what the what was. Do you follow me? And so you're asking me to comment on a executive order. I think that had been some issues around safety and homelessness had been discussed, but we work in cooperation on those issues anyway.
Okay, Kate Ryan, WTOP. Two quick questions.
Yep.
Has the Trump administration said to you, we will not touch home rule? And second question for Ms. Morris-Hughes, you mentioned that some of the difficulty in getting timely responses on verifying the job status of workers is at the federal level. When you go back to the feds and go, hey, you know, can you verify this? Are you concerned? Is that a result of the cuts that they've made?
Yeah, so I won't speculate as to what the reason is. You should know procedurally, we give all employers 10 days to respond to our request to verify employment and wages. So can't speculate to the what and the why and the who. All I know is that my team is laserly focused on the number of people who are without employment, and I have directed them to do whatever they need to do within our process and procedure to get the confirmation so we can issue a payment.
And to your first question, until we become a state, we always have to be worried about interference with our limited self-government. So I would say I would never not be worried about it. Never not be. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes, the double negative. Mayor Rebecca with 7 News. 2 quick questions, one following up on this potential executive order and the mayor potentially backing off. Do you think that's actually happening? Do you think he actually is backing off?
Yes, I do.
And is there, if you can elaborate on what makes you trust him?
This is what I know, and I only, you asked me that question today, it could be a different answer tomorrow. So let me put it that way. I know that and I always make the case for DC. I always do. We have an amazing team. Our team has worked hand in hand with the community, with the council, to drive down violent crime. And I want to emphasize this point because I do believe that the president, and I've said this before, especially as it relates to crime and homelessness, had a picture of the DC that he left during COVID.
Of your salvation, sustain in me a willing spirit. O Lord, open my lips, and my mouth shall proclaim your praise. Be merciful,
A reading from the second letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. Brothers and sisters, we are ambassadors for Christ, as if God were appealing through us. We implore you, on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God. For our